So here we are at Chapter 9 proper. This is a pretty big map overall that can be divided into roughly two halves. Both of which we need to do something kind of different on, though I'm going to have to use Ike down here and I'll need to bring him back up here to Seas, because yes, this is a Seas chapter. It's the first Seas chapter since Chapter 1. Took them a while to give us another one. So up here, there's mostly a bunch of enemies. Now, if you're not careful, Leth and Mordecai will actually finish off most of these enemies for you. I forget if there are actually any droppable weapons here. Well, I mean, there is the boss. He has an arm scroll, which raises weapon ranks. And he also has the counter skill. Be aware of that. That can cause issues, especially if you're attacking with mages. You might also want to be aware of the fact that fire tomes are effective against beast lagoos, so you might want to call off Leth and Mordecai before they reach the enemy fire mages. What I mean by that, you'll see in a moment. Yeah, it looks like no one else on the map is going to be dropping anything. So, the coast here, it slows down mounted units a lot, but units on foot are pretty much fine. So I'm going to be sending Ike and Soren, and I think also Mia, she might help, and Ileana can help too, down here. My main aim is to reach these two houses before the pirates do. The pirates in this map can actually be pretty annoying. Unless you shove Ike a lot early on, it's pretty difficult to get to them before they're threatening the villagers. So that's what I'm going to be doing at this point. So, going to be doing... Okay, so at this point, no real reason for me not to bring anyone, but repositioning Oscar and Titania here, because yeah, as mounted units, they'll suffer down here. They're going to be seeing more use around this part of the map. And my on-foot units will be going down here. Now, yeah, as you can see, I can't have Ike deploy any further forward than he already is. I'd really like him to be where Soren is standing, but I'm going to have to shove him to get him there. So for that, I'm going to need Boyd, I'm going to actually need Rice. And Soren can't shove Ike, so yeah, neither can Mia. So I'm going to need to get everyone kind of out of the way, so... And unfortunately, Soren can't even reach can't even reach the first enemy here without shoving. Alright, I should be able to do this. Now, the moment we start this, something new is going to happen. They've been staying on the sidelines for far too long, and they're actually going to fight with us right now. So, Miss can heal. Having an extra heal will definitely help, and Mist is a little bit unique if you promote her. And also Rolf. He can use a bow. Boyd doesn't believe this for a moment, and you shouldn't either. If you've been paying attention earlier in the game, you might be able to work something out from this conversation. The game actually expects you to have done that later on, so just remember that. Again, no infighting, please. That's exactly what I was going to say. So just like that, we have two new party members. Mist...
You know, I will never forgive you if you die on me. Please remember that.
Trivia time, in the original concept for this game, Mist was intended to be the second Lord. She kinda got demoted from that role here, but she's still very unique. Mist is a healer, but she has a fairly bad start, being not only very weak and level 1, but having an E rank in Staves, which really holds her back early on. Thanks to bonus experience, it's not that hard to get Mist leveled up, and you might want to, because Mist's main feature is that on promotion she becomes a mounted healer. There is one other mounted healer in this game, but they don't join until almost the end, so Mist is effectively the only one. And we all know how good mounted units are in this game. Yes, Kanto works with staves as well as with attacks. If you're expecting her to become an offensive powerhouse on promotion like a lot of other Valkyries in the series, think again, because they did something kinda weird. Instead of giving her magic on promotion, she gets swords. I guess it makes sense because sword fighting runs in the family, but her strength is really not that good. The only things she'll really be killing are enemy healers and some mages. Even then, she may need a forge weapon to do that. Now, if you can somehow get her up to a B rank in swords, she can use magic swords, and she's actually very powerful with those, but again, getting her to a B in swords either requires wasting a lot of arm scrolls or just way too much effort. This isn't that big of a downside though, since Mist is more meant for healing than for fighting, and as a healer she's very useful thanks to being mounted. She's also useful for something else. Now, there is a fight later in the game that's technically optional, that only Ike and Mist are allowed to participate in. If you have Mist promoted and at least somewhat trained, she can really help out in this fight. She won't be able to fight the actual boss, but she will be able to deal with some of the lackeys the boss summons. So training Mist does help there. Overall, Mist has a unique niche of being a mounted healer, and that alone might make her worth using. Oh right, she comes with the Miracle skill. I've already explained Miracle and why I don't like it, but it being on a cleric is kind of even worse, because if you're letting Mist get attacked in the first place, you're probably doing something wrong. It can be a nice insurance policy, and Mist does have one of the best luck stats in this game, so it can help sometimes, but I prefer to not rely on it. And Rolf. Shinnen was a little atypical, but now they're finally giving us the really weak early game archer. 9 chapters into the game. So, Rolf starts out pathetic. He won't be doing much to any of the enemies in this chapter at all. If you want to make Rolf useful, you'll probably have to inject about 1,000 bonus experience into him, which is quite a costly investment. Is he worth it? Well, most would say not really. He is technically the best sniper in this game. Snipers do get a nice crit bonus, and he does get additional crit bonuses from his bond support with his brothers, so he can critical hit quite often. But even with all that, snipers aren't that useful in this game. They're a lot better in Radiant Dawn. I've seen people argue that Rolf is at least slightly better than some of the lower ranked characters in this game, only because he can be pretty decent at boss killing if trained. But yeah, Rolf is basically just someone who costs you a massive ton of bonus experience to use. Rolf also starts with Rolf's bow, which is personal to him. It's actually kind of strong, but he isn't at this point. Also, wait 4, he's not going to be shoving anyone anytime soon. Speaking of which, let's start the shove train right now. I'm actually going to need to shove Ike quite a lot here. I'm probably going to have Mia stay out of range, because I'd rather Ike lure that guy. Okay, I can shove Ike twice. Can I shove him a 3rd time? I don't think I can. No, I don't think so. So I'm going to have Ike go here. This is as far as he'll be able to go. The main reason I'm doing this is, like I said, I want to reach that pirate as soon as possible. In fact, I may need to shove him even more to get him to do that. Having Ileana go here might help. And let's see. If I can move Soren here, he'll only potentially get attacked by 1 fighter. Might as well wear out this 4-use Wind Tome. As for everyone else, I think I'll have Oscar and Titania move forward. You might also notice that Leth and Mordecai here, they're yellow units rather than green units. As for why I didn't show a tutorial for that, it's because we'll be getting one anyway during gameplay. You'll see. Actually, I probably should have had Ileana not go there and then shove Mist 1 so that Ike gets his 10% critical bond support from her. But anyway, Mordecai has this Laguz stone, which he won't be using as an NPC. It fills the transform gauge instantly, but these are actually quite rare in this game, so you only want to use them as a last resort. As for Leth, she starts with an item, and this item's description is completely and utterly wrong. If it actually worked this way, it'd be great, but it doesn't. I don't know why they screwed the description up. What it actually does is it negates the effectiveness bonus of Laguz slaying weapons. So, a lot less useful than the description implies it is. Okay, so Leth is about to transform here. And she and Mordecai are just going to do their own thing for the time being. What I was going to say is that the Bjork Guard also does not negate the effectiveness bonus from magic, only from actual anti-Laguz weapons. So it's really not that amazing, because you don't see those weapons very often. But at this point, Leth demolishes almost every enemy she fights. Thankfully, they're attacking us, so we'll at least be getting a bit of experience. There's one big difference between how yellow units work in Path of Radiance compared to Radiant Dawn, and I'll get to that once we get our yellow unit tutorial, which happens at the start of turn 2. Yeah, I need to break my way through these fighters quickly, because I have to get to that bandit. So, here is one of the few tutorials that's actually integrated into dialogue in this game. And there's Leth being tsundere, which is pretty accurate since anyone who's owned a cat will be able to tell you all cats are inherently tsundere. No exceptions. So, this is our explanation for how yellow units work. They're different from green units because... Oh, also, yeah. That was an exception there. But yeah, they're different from green units because you can actually vaguely tell them what to do. You don't have full control over them, but you can get some semblance of control. So what you need to do is you have to select Ike, and on this menu you have the option to direct. So we have 4 possible orders: roam, halt, target, and avoid. Roam is they just do whatever the AI wants them to do. They'll attack enemies freely. Pretty self-explanatory. Halt has them stay where they are. In this state, they generally won't attack unless they'll need to counterattack on the enemy phase, but they usually won't initiate attacks themselves. Target lets you choose a target area, and they'll focus on moving towards that at all costs. They'll generally ignore attacking under this order. And avoid is pretty self-explanatory. They just avoid enemies. So, with it off, they default to roaming. Now, one thing to remember, though, is that in Path of Radiance, this is different in Radiant Dawn, but in Path of Radiance... Actually, let me see if Ileana can finish you off. No, she can't. I actually have to use Soren here. Or not, actually. I'm gonna need to do a 2-pronged attack of Soren and Ileana, unless I get lucky with Adept. But yeah. In Path of Radiance, Ike cannot issue orders after he's ended his turn. So if he's grayed out after having taken an action, he can't issue orders that turn. You'll need to wait until the next turn. So make sure that you issue orders with Ike before you get him to move. This is different in Radiant Dawn. In that game, you can just select your commander even if they've already moved, and you'll still get the direct option. You can also give orders to playable characters too, but I find that's a really bad idea. I mean, Have you ever used auto battle in Heroes? You probably should have, and you might realize that your allies have no sense of self-preservation on auto battle. This is also true of this game, and it's even worse than in Heroes, obviously, because there is permanent death in this one. So yeah. Don't use orders for playable units, it's a terrible idea. It will end very badly. Seriously, you don't want to do that. Actually have Mia finish off something here. She might even level up this chapter, even though that's not really going to help her all that much. So now I can actually get Ike into range of that bandit, and hopefully it'll attack him. Also, he has a Venom Axe. This thing inflicts poison. Even if it doesn't inflict damage, it just has to hit you in order to poison you. That's what those antitoxins they were selling were for. Now, hopefully Ike will be able to handle all three of those enemies. I'm pretty sure that he will. And I actually need to watch out for Rolf here. Though, you've got a pole axe, so there's no way you're doubling Rolf. Yeah. 20 on defense. Yeah, 6 defense is fine. I'd like for Mist to go a little further, but Mist will actually get one-shotted by that guy. For now, might as well have Boyd go down here. Oh, right, Boyd can talk to Rolf, which means that Oscar probably can too. So we can check the units here to make sure. Yep, both of them can talk to Rolf. Also, for now, I'm content to leave Leth and Mordecai on Robe. I might put them on Holt eventually, because I don't want them to be getting too much experience here. Okay, I was about to say that was the reason why I gave him the Steel Lance, but I don't like the fact that you're getting doubled. So what I might actually do is have you attack something a little safer, and then have Titania finish off that one. I do want to talk about something here. I have been overusing Titania a lot. That is only because, at this point, the characters that I want to use on my final team, only 2 of them have joined, and they're Ike and Soren. Technically Mist as well, but most of her training will happen via bonus experience rather than, well, actual in-chapter experience. So that's not really going to matter all that much. But yeah, at this point, I only have 2 characters that I want to be feeding most of my experience to, and they can't handle everything, especially since Soren is pretty frail at this point, so I need to rely on Titania for a lot. She is someone that I want to use as part of my main team, but she will be getting, well, it's not so much that she'll be seeing less use later in the game, more that her use will be more balanced compared to the rest of the army, once I start getting other characters that I want to give experience to. But for now, I'm just saying that you're seeing a lot of her, that will change, don't worry. Now, one really irritating thing about the beach terrain is that everyone on beaches has +1 to their defense and +10 avoid. It's not quite as bad as indoor maps and echoes, but it's almost as bad. The good news is on-foot units don't get slowed down very much by the beaches at all, so you don't need to worry too much about not reaching this bandit unless you don't shove Ike. I do need to worry about Rolf, but that could be some extra healing experience for Mist there. One downside of having to bonus experience Mist a lot will be that she won't be raising her staff rank, because it starts at an E rank. You want to get that pretty high as soon as you can. Now, I hope that bandit will actually attack us rather than simply go for the village, but he might just go for the village. That being said, though, I think Ike can still reach him next turn anyway. The trickiest part of this chapter, I find, is reaching the 2 villages, because there will be bandit reinforcements, and it can be a little tricky to save both the villages once they start swarming all over the beach. Also, Mordecai is getting attacked by a bunch of enemies. He's pretty tanky even in human form, so I'm not too fussed about him. Oh, something that the Lagoos tutorial didn't actually mention, that I probably should talk about now, is that Lagoos and effectiveness bonuses. I actually have to use this if I want to run around. If I want to one-round you, I have to use the steel sword. I'm going to get around here, because that will at least slow you down a little bit. But yeah, this guy has almost no chance of hitting me. 27 under true hit is pretty much nothing. so I don't have to worry about being poisoned. Poison can kill you in this game, and at this point we don't have Restore Staves, so you'll want to watch out for that. Basically, if someone gets poisoned, you'll need to resort to healing them repeatedly. Okay, this could be slightly problematic. Just goes to show how stupidly... Oh, yeah, here's the conversation, by the way. And normally this would have been a bad thing, me accidentally mashing A, because doing a talk conversation locks you into staying at the current place you're on. But I can still attack this guy with a hand axe from here, and that's what I plan to do anyway. Also, this conversation is pretty funny. Rolf actually does have some pretty good dialogue sometimes. The main reason I'm having Boyd attack from here is because, just like Oscar, he has a 10% critical bond support from Rolf. So now that we have all three brothers, we can potentially stack those bond supports and get 20% extra critical on them, which is nice. Yeah, Rolf is... There's no way Rolf's going to finish you off. Doubling even with Elf Thunder is kind of impressive, though. Okay. Plan. Plan is... Ileana, Elf Thunder this guy. Someone else needs to shove Soren, and then Soren will be able to attack the enemy mage on the beach. Thunder looks kind of cool. One interesting thing about the animation for Thunder is that if an enemy dodges it, they'll dodge the 2 bolts of lightning that are sort of moving around first. So the dodge animation for that is pretty fast. Now a bit of healing experience for Mist. I do plan on using Mist as my main healer, mostly for that one optional fight later in the game that Mist actually helps a lot for if she's trained. Okay, so even with Weapon Triangle advantage, I'm not doing a lot more damage than I normally would. As you can see here, Thunder beats Fire, but it loses 2 wind. Might as well break this wind tome here. I'm pretty sure Adept doesn't really take weapon usage into account, so I think you can still activate Adept even if you only have 2 uses left of the weapon. I'm not completely sure, though. Because I'm pretty sure it does consume weapon uses, but I don't know if, like, I feel like you don't need to have weapon uses remaining, like, enough weapon uses to cover the uses that you'll consume with the extra Adept attacks in order to activate Adept, basically. If that makes sense. Okay, so Mia actually is going to level up here. Not that it's going to be that useful, but it's something. Those trees in the background look kind of low quality. And that's pretty typical. Mia's not going to have very much strength most of the time. I was about to wonder if that guy would double Soren, and then I just realized, of course he doesn't. Soren has some of the highest speed of anyone I have right now. Also, something to mention, I'm pretty sure that Leth and Mordecai can't actually die in this chapter. If they do run out of HP, they'll just retreat. And yeah, I'm holding off on giving bios for them at this point, because they technically haven't joined us yet. They'll be joining us pretty soon, but technically not just yet. I'll let them roam for one more turn. I might as well show off what Mordecai is like in a fight, but after that I might just put them on target and have them just move all the way back to the early parts of the map, because even if I put them on halt, it still means that that enemies will attack them on the enemy phase and will probably die. So the safest way to make sure they don't take up any... The safest way to make sure that they don't waste any experience is to just have them retreat. Okay, I actually need to be a bit careful here. Oh yeah, what I was going to talk about in terms of Lagoo's and effectiveness bonuses, I didn't get a chance to mention this before. I got interrupted there, I really need to stop doing that. But anyway, Lagoo's only take effective damage when they're in beast form. So while they're still in human form, they're not weak to Lagoo's slaying weapons, and they're not weak to, in this case, fire magic. Once they transform, both are fair game. This also means that bird Lagoos, who we actually haven't seen yet, but once we do see them, you'll need to know this, they're not weak to bows until they actually transform. Even though they still look like they're flying even in their human form animations. They're not officially considered flyers until they transform, basically. That wasn't even a Bonsicle, wow. That wasn't even with a Regal Sword. And that thing about partner units that I promised to talk about, that works a lot better in Radiant Dawn, it's the fact that in Radiant Dawn, all experience that yellow partner units gain is converted into bonus experience at the end of the chapter, so you don't need to worry about them stealing your experience. Here though, that's not the case. Any experience that yellow partner units gain is totally wasted, so that means you don't want to have them attack too many enemies. So I think at this point, I'm going to call them off. Also, as if we didn't have enough new recruits from this chapter, this is our payoff from talking to Marsha all the way back in Chapter 3. She's appeared on the map. Her stats are the exact same as they were before, except now she has a Pegasus band, which I believe raises luck and resistance just like the Priest band. And she's going to be heading straight for Ike. She's thankfully another smart NPC who automatically talks to you to join, so we don't need to worry about NPC itis all that much. I might as well just shove Soren twice here. Yeah, sometimes mages need to be shoved in order to get where you need them to go. Oh, okay, here is the major downside of Soren's terrible strength. He doesn't double with fire, but he does with wind. That's why later on I often like to forge him a wind tome. Even though wind tomes are very expensive to forge. I suppose that makes sense because wind tomes are the weakest of the three, so they get the biggest benefit from being forged. Except in the Japanese version, when Thunder gets the biggest benefit from being forged for obvious reasons. And so now to Sea and Wind. I like to get Soren's fire rank up though. Like I said, there's a point later on in the game where I really, really want him to be at... Okay, 7 crit. Yeah, Ike doesn't have a critical chance. There's a point later in the game where I really like him to have at least a C in Thunder. And I want to go for a perfect hit right here. I'm actually kind of running out of Regal Sword uses, which is kind of strange. Don't really mind too much, because the Regal Sword I find, like I said, not really all that great. Especially since now we have access to forged swords, and we can very easily make a forged iron sword that's a lot better. Won't have the effectiveness bonus against armored and cavalry units, but do you really need it? We've got other characters in this game who are far better at taking on mounted units and armored units. Oh, no healing. You could at least try and shove Ileana, but that's kind of mean. But I'll do it anyway just because. Oh, right. Yeah, I did not follow my own advice. I should have had Ike give orders before doing that, because now these two are going to be probably wasting a lot of my experience. Might as well just have Titania finish one of them then. And then I'll call off Leopard Mordecai. I still find it funny, I don't know if I mentioned this before, in fact I probably haven't. Mordecai's name in the Japanese version is Mordi. It's pretty silly, but yeah. It'd make sense if it was like an affectionate nickname for Mordecai, but in the Japanese version, it's his actual name. Like, that's how he's always referred to, Mordi. Leth have the same name, though. I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but Path of Radiance has some pretty dumb Japanese names. It probably has some of the dumbest in the series. I mean, sometimes people get mad at name changes in Fire Emblem localizations, but, some of the Japanese names are pretty stupid. Case in point, Rolf. His Japanese name was Lofa, L-O-F-A, or Yofa. It's kind of ambiguous which it is, but either way it sounds pretty dumb. We'll also soon be recruiting a character whose Japanese name was Champ. As in, hello old chap. Yeah, Champ. Admittedly, Kilroy for Rice isn't that bad. It just sounds like a really unfitting name for him. But at least it's an actual legitimate name. Ranulph, who we've already met, his Japanese name is Lei. Yeah. Really. Okay, thankfully we'll only have an other phase for a couple of turns. And this part of the chapter! I normally don't read out dialogue. I'm actually going to be doing it here because it's just too fun. Yar har ho. Yo ho har. Scallywags of the sea are we. We fight like beasts and men do flee. We earn our gold with axes bold. Yar, you scurvy bilge rat. Why aren't you singing? Har. Over there, Nadata. Fix your eyes on that. Do you sees what I sees? Oh ho ho, what's this then? Humans battling humans here in Gallia? What in the briny beard of Shanty Pete is going on here? That's our second mention of Shanty Pete for this game. Oi, do you think they may be the king's curs out to capture us and claim the bounty? Gar har har! Shall we unfold the mainsail and steer for calmer waters? Bite your tongue, you kelp-brained idiot! We're pirates! We don't turn tail from government scum! I'm going ashore. Watch me and you'll see a true sea dog in action. Yar, well said. You've set me blood a-boil. I'm with you all the way, matey. Arr! Let's see what we can see then. Yar, me axe is sharp and me spirit is bold. Yar har ho. Yo ho har. So, these guys. This is Nadata. Sadly, he is not recruitable, and I have no idea why. He's a character who's not a boss and has a portrait and is on the enemy side, but he's not recruitable. And that's just such a missed opportunity because, So, there have been so many mods that make Nadata recruitable because, seriously, he's just such a hilarious character, and it feels so weird that he's an enemy with a portrait, not a boss, but not recruitable. And, like, his whole existence is just a giant big-lipped alligator moment. He has absolutely nothing to do with the plot. He's never mentioned again after this. He only exists to be a random mini-boss in a chapter that really didn't need one. But he exists nonetheless? I think, other than Heimler, he's the only enemy with a portrait who isn't a boss, who isn't recruitable in the entire series. Oh, great, I forgot to call off Leth and Mordecai again. And yeah, a bunch of reinforcements just appeared. I didn't get to talk about that before because the pirates appeared. And don't worry, you won't have to deal with my cringeworthy pirate impression for much longer, but I always just found this moment pretty great because of just how flat out weird it is. But I'm pretty sure everyone wishes that he was recruitable. I mean, this game has a major lack of on-foot axe users other than Boyd, so you really could have used an extra one. Because you do eventually get a Berserker, but not until really, really late in the game. And I do mean really late in the game. So Nadata actually may have been somewhat useful. I'm also pretty sure that he has only... Because there are some NPCs in this game that do have non-generic growth rates in the game's data. I don't think Nadata is one of them. I think he just has generic enemy growth rates. There's quite a few NPCs that have interesting unused data, let's just say. Which is part of why, just to give a sneak preview or something, I'm actually not going to be talking about unused content in this game until I finish Radiant Dawn, because some of Path of Radiance's unused content contains spoilers for Radiant Dawn. Really. For example, there's a certain character who has unused data and their affinity, weapon ranks, and growth rates are all the exact same as the Black Knights. Yeah. Path of Radiance's data spoils the Black Knight's identity, long before Heroes did. And that's really why I wanted to call off Mordecai, because these things tend to just die to him. Well, thankfully some of them avoided him. I should probably show Lev and Mordecai's Transformer stats too. I already did in their bios, but I guess I can show them now as well. Lev is pretty interesting because she tends to not level up very often, but her stats are good enough to carry her all the way until pretty late into the game. Mordecai, on the other hand, he's more of a traditional crutch character. He's very strong at this point, but he tends to fall off pretty quickly. And finally, like I said, Marsha will automatically try and talk to Ike. So make sure Ike isn't too far away from her before... Yeah, I don't see why she couldn't have joined earlier, but I feel like she's kind of more useful now, because back then we were mostly fighting axe users. Really? You resigned because someone just came up to you and talked to you when you were being attacked by pirates? You know, come to think of it, why didn't Marsha just fly off the boat back in Chapter 3? She easily could have done that. Though, at least it means good news for us, because it means that she'll join later. No, do not say no to Marsha. Never say no to Marsha. That is pretty much true, especially in a speedrun. Like I said earlier, I really like Marsha because her character is so different to your average early game Pegasus Knight. So, we now have Marsha at last. The god of Path of Radiance speedruns hath arrived. Chapter 9 is a little late to be getting your first Pegasus Knight, but Marsha is still really, really amazing. She does start out at a fairly low level, so you'll probably have to pump a bunch of bonus experience into her, but most people consider her the best person in the game to spend your bonus experience on. Marsha has all the normal advantages of being a Pegasus Knight. She can fly, she can rescue people pretty easily, well, not certain cavalry. She has massive movement, and she's also really, really powerful. Her stats are more like a Catria than a Sheeta. Having really good strength as well as skill and speed, and her defense is surprisingly solid for a Pegasus Knight as well. I'm actually struggling to find more things to say here other than Marsha is amazing. And it really says something that there are two other very good flyers in this game, and Marsha is still amazing. And I'm really sorry to say that I'm actually not going to be using her in this playthrough. I know that she's amazing, and there are many, many other Path of Radiance playthroughs on YouTube that use her extensively. So if you want to see her used, you'll want to watch one of them. Meanwhile, this village. Yeah, this shows that a lot of Galleons are still pretty terrified of Bjork. Thankfully, you still get an item here. It's also important that she used the word human there, not Bjork. That'll be explained shortly. Okay, so Nadada's not going to be able to get to us yet, but this pirate is. In fact, it's actually of our benefit to have him attack Soren from the sea rather than from the shore, because unlike in a lot of Fire Emblem games, usually sea terrain gives you bonuses to avoid, but no, now the shore does. We've already saved one village, and Marsha definitely has that village locked down next turn, so I'm not too worried about trying to get to that one, but you can have a lot of trouble getting to these villages if you don't shove Ike a lot early and try and kill off that first pirate, because if you don't, he's probably going to have destroyed that first village by now. Yes, Mia can brace for impact from these pirates. That sounds weird. But anyway, You know, I swear, I did this in my practice playthrough as well. I kept forgetting to call off Leth and Mordecai. But at least I can do what I promised and show their stats, so 18 strength and 15 speed is really not that bad at this point in the game. Mordecai's strength is massive, but he's kinda slow. On the lower difficulties, though, he does tend to double a lot, even at this point. I'm gonna have to do this, unfortunately. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to have Ike head back up here, because this is the Seas chapter. I guess I can talk about one other thing. Some people have commented that that Path of Radiance actually has a pretty good amount of variety in its mission types. Finally, Oscar didn't gain magic. That's something that I like about this game. They don't overload you with too much of any one mission type. It feels pretty well balanced overall. It's not like some games where it's just like C, 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 C's, like FE6. FE1 I can excuse because it's the first game in the series, but one of the things I don't like about FE6 is the fact that every single chapter is C's, which means you're forced to lug around useless Roy to the end of every single chapter. I don't like Roy. Anyway. But in this one, there aren't that many C's chapters. There also aren't too many route chapters either. There's, like I said, a good balance of pretty much every kind of chapter type. I don't want to be harping on about, because I do think, like, I still enjoy the later Fire Emblem games. In particular, and yeah, Leth is untransformed now, so I want to keep her away from enemies. But in particular, I actually think that Fate's a lot better than most people give it credit for. Like, I fully understand why people don't like the story, but I actually think that... I don't like how people always discount, like, just brush off Fate without, acknowledging that Conquest probably has some of the best solid gameplay in the series. Like, I have never had as much fun as I did with Conquest in a Fire Emblem game since the Tellius games, really. So I like that, and I even think that Awakening it's very easy to break, but I don't think it's that bad of a game. But what I was basically going to say is what I don't like about the newer games is how every single chapter is route or defeat boss. Even Conquest didn't really do much with new, like, they said Conquest was going to have other objective types, but it didn't even have that many of them. Okay, so Nadata is going to be attacking us pretty soon. Fortunately, though, those other pirates are not going to be getting this village, because it's Marsha to the rescue. Also, we get to see what generic Lagoo's portraits look like for the first time. Well, this guy's a lot more reasonable, thankfully. I already explained that earlier. Though, because magic is so weak in this game, it's really not that big of a threat anyway. So that's a talisman, an item that raises the resistance stat by a few points. I generally don't find it to be that useful because... well, various reasons, but mostly because enemy mages are pretty weak in this one. Okay, I have to go all the way over there in order to attract you. Oh, right, direct. Good. I almost forgot it again. I won't this time. So I'm just going to tell Leth and Mordecai to go all the way back here. And I can still switch around my equipment even after doing that. Okay, now I really don't want you to attack Mist. Or Ileana. Really, I just want you to attack Soren. You know, if none of you can actually get to miss there, I might as well go for the bond support bonus. Oh yeah, also, this map's turn requirement for max bonus experience is 8, so I'm almost certainly not going to make that here. I feel like if you were going to go for that, you'd have to avoid killing most of the enemies, because you just have to quickly rush these villages and then have Ike just over here and seize quickly. Okay, well, you're doing enough there. And that mage is actually hitting kind of hard. At least by enemy mage standards for this game. And maybe you could get a better look at why I think they wear sunglasses in this game. Okay, so that's one mage down. And let's just get rid of the other one. Still haven't really needed to buy many new weapons for Titania, which is surprising, although some of these are from Void. I think this was dropped by a random bandit earlier in the game, this Iron Axe, I mean. So we'll be getting to the boss pretty soon, and you do need to be wary of counter against him. Like I said earlier, counter is a pretty bad skill in this game, but sometimes against mages, they might be taking a lot of damage from it if you get unlucky and it activates. And more hilarity with this guy. Scallywags of the sea are we. We earn our gold with axes bold. There are even more lyrics to that song, by the way. Nadana actually has special boss quotes for fighting Leth and Mordecai as well, if for some reason you decide to direct them down here. He just says to hit them while they're in human form. Speaking of hit, thankfully none of these venom axes have hit us yet. So thankfully Ike didn't finish that guy off. I remember when I practiced playthrough of this, I had a lot of people get poisoned, because I was kind of unlucky with fighting these guys. Okay, neither of you have hand axes, it seems. And I really want to have Ike fight the boss, even though Soren needs the kill more, only because the conversation... Actually, wait, no, Ike can't even kill him, so that's fine. The conversation is hilarious, basically. Yar har ho. Yo ho ha. Scallywags of the sea are we. We'll not lose the likes of thee. Oh, you will, just after I move Soren. Though that guy, he's not even going to kill Mist. I can probably finish him off with... I'm actually going to... Wait, no. I was going to say I'll do... Actually, wait. Yeah, Soren can't get attacked by them anyway, so might as well just stay here. I'm going to use fire only because I just want to get extra weapon ranks on fire. It's all building up to a strategy that I plan to use for a later chapter. Scallywags of the sea are we. An end like this is quite worthy. Improvising with his song even in his dying breaths. I still wish he was recruitable though. I'm pretty sure everyone does. I've read about a lot of mods that make him recruitable though. And I guess Soren's great level ups earlier are averaging out now. And let's have Marsha fly over here and poke you. Yeah, even though we have a Slim Lance here, we can't forge existing weapons, so we won't be able to do the critical glitch if this was the Japanese version just yet. Okay, Ike does need a bit of healing, and I want Mist to be getting as much experience as possible. The main reason why I didn't buy any more healing salves for Rice earlier is because Mist comes with one, and that's pretty much enough to last you quite a while. But annoyingly, her staff rank is too low to use Ward. C ranked, yeah, she can't use that for a while. If she could, I'd just spam that and get her a lot of experience off of that, but sadly, no. Me starting out with an E rank in staffs is actually very bad, and it's also bad because in this game, I believe the way arm scrolls work is that... oh yeah, also you have a Night Killer, so cavalry need to watch out around you. But since effectiveness bonus weapons aren't even that good in this game, it's not that much of a big deal. Or you could just attack from range and goad the boss into using his long-range weapon. But we're not rogues. The rogue class doesn't exist until Radiant Dawn. Anyway. Yeah, I was saying about Starves and Mist. Yeah, her starting an E rank is pretty annoying. I'll just have to hold off on... So yeah, just gradually whittling this guy down until Ike can get here to seize. It's our second Halberdier boss, though. Well, that was bound to happen sooner or later, but at least you're not equipping your Night Killer anymore. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say about yeah, Mist and Staff Ranks Arm Scrolls. So, regarding Arm Scrolls... How much damage are you doing? 7. In fact, I might be able to... you don't double with that. Let's just do this, and then finish you off with Soren. But yeah, Arm Scrolls in this game only work on whatever weapon type you currently have equipped, and because you can't equip Staves in this game, I don't think Arm Scrolls can be used to raise Staff ranks. Which makes things even harder for Mist. But we're almost getting to the point where we can just end this chapter. Ike has quite a bit of ground to cover though. In fact, I might have to rescue him. The water looks a little weird up close like this, but generally most animators consider water to be one of the hardest things to render. Also, I'm pretty sure Mist can't use the Restore Staff either, so I won't be able to just trade that over to her and then use it. Yeah, I actually need Ike to get moving right now. Might have to rescue him with Marsha. And I would do that, but no, I don't want Boyd to get attacked, because then this fighter... Then this pirate won't die. I just want to have Ileana hover around there, and let's just continue whacking this guy. You probably want to use hand axes rather than javelins to attack him from range. Okay, so yeah, your Night Killer is not going to do enough. I will need to heal you pretty soon. I'm going to have Oscar go over here, because you might need to rescue Ike. Meanwhile, you guys follow orders and just go away, because don't want to waste any more experience. Probably much rather Soren gets the kill on the boss than Titania, but we'll see how this goes. I don't think anyone on the shore has got hit other than Marsha. Okay, I was thinking that I'd have to finish you off with someone else, but no, and that's also Soren's first critical of the playthrough, I think. You'll probably see a lot more of that later. For some reason, even though there aren't really any spells with really high crit rates, I find Soren tends to crit a lot later in the game. So yeah, here's the Night Killer again. And it missed entirely. So yeah, if you take poison damage, I'll just use this opportunity to heal again and get a little bit of experience. Yeah, the good thing about healers in this game is that you can use bonus experience to quickly get them up to ready for promotion. Okay, can I can have you rescue Ike, but not move very far. It's at times like these where I could really use a dancer, but we do not have one yet. In fact, we will never be getting a dancer in this game. And that's a good thing. You may be wondering why I say that. Well, we'll be getting something a lot better than a dancer. But I'm getting way ahead of myself there. I kind of wish I could just press start and skip the partner phase, but they didn't introduce that thing until Shadow Dragon, I believe. Which basically means that all Fire Emblem speedruns from that point on were kind of boring to watch, because it would just mean that you spend most of it looking at a black screen. Okay, if I finish this guy off, Ike should be able to see his next turn. But yeah, I'm going way over the turn limit. It's fine though, because the next chapter lets me make up for it in terms of bonus experience big time. Though I'm not actually going to be doing the main bonus experience objective for the next chapter, at least in the main run. I'll be showing it, but I personally don't feel it's very exciting to watch, so that's why I'm just going to be doing the chapter the quote-unquote wrong way as the main playthrough. But I'll be showing bonus footage of the... Well, I wouldn't say it's the right way, but it's a way that gives you a lot of bonus experience. But that chapter still has quite a lot of bonus experience, even if you don't play it that way. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Shouldn't be talking about the next chapter just yet. Oscar, can you get a little bit of chip damage in so that Titania will finish this? Well, you can, but the chances of it are very, very low. Thought so. Well, at least I might be able to show off... Yeah, because I'm not going to be able to finish you off this turn. Might as well use that. If I remember right, this boss conversation isn't... Ike isn't particularly snarky here or anything. Have you seen the stats of your troops? Ike pretty much said it for me. Oh, actually, Ike's quote here is pretty awesome. I'd forgotten about that. Oh, and that's awesome too. Wow, I completely forgotten about this boss conversation. This one's great too. Like I said earlier, Ike just has so many great boss conversations. Might as well just try and go for a bit of chip damage here. Yeah, at the moment my recording's gone on for just over 50 minutes, and I'm kind of worried because I think there's a fairly long cutscene after this chapter ends. So I don't want this to go on for much longer. And they've finally reached the target point. Yeah, if they reach the target point, they'll just stand there as long as you continue to have your order set to target. It's basically the same as halt now. Well, that's unfortunate. But I'll still probably beat you this turn. Not quite a level up yet. I think that's why Titania's been a bit higher level than most of the rest of my army, is that she's been getting a lot of boss kills. I'm not too concerned about Ike falling behind in experience. His level's actually probably pretty high at this point in the game. He doesn't need to be level 20 until chapter 18. That's actually kind of weird. I don't think Dayan is an empire, so there might have been a mistranslation there. But yeah, Dayan only owns Dayan at this point. I guess they're becoming an empire, but they're never referred to as an empire anywhere else, I don't think. It's always the Kingdom of Dayan. Titania's actually been getting some pretty good level ups too. I think that's everything that I can do. I mean, I could get a bit of extra healing experience for you, which I might as well do. Probably will need to buy a new healing staff next chapter. Oh, and that was a level up, so good thing I did that then. If you're going for resetting for bonus experience, it's probably best to end chapters with people almost leveling up, but not quite, so that you can just spend the rest on bonus experience and reset it until you get good level ups, but that's kind of cheap. Anyway, let's seize. That'll be helpful to the citizens in this area too, because Dayan just waltzed in and took that forward. No, they didn't even mention the princess that whole chapter. And that's going to invite repercussions. That also means it's kind of bad for us to continue to be here. Yeah, considering all the prejudice around, That could easily spiral out of control. We already decided earlier, didn't we? Oh, right, and yeah, there's this. At least he corrected himself there. Once again, she is being a jerk. Not to mention they have the advantage of the dense forests. But that being said, it's still probably in our best interest to get the princess out of here as soon as possible. Things are going to be escalating a lot. You know, Lagoos are actually pretty good at rescuing people. Could you carry us there? I should probably just go berserk if we suggested that. But yes, we're actually getting to see Castle Gallia for the first time. I like these. Every castle in the game has its own artwork. And they just all look very unique. But yeah, Elincia wasn't there to see it. We've suffered a pretty big blow though. But it's time to meet the king. That's a weird way to begin conversation with royalty, but oh well. Also this song. This is a pretty great song. I'm sure most people who've played these games remember this song very well. So, that conversation from earlier in the chapter, when Titania said Ike had been here, it didn't mean anything like amnesia or anything. It just meant that Ike was so young at that time that he wouldn't remember it anyway. Oh, so Titania's directly met this guy. Now I'm getting critical role flashbacks here. I'd like to ask Leth and Mordecai to leave the table, please. Well, she is a totally different person around the king, which makes total sense. Hi there. He's basically just there to be Kanegas' bodyguard. Okay, so we have a lot to be filled in on. We already knew from that cutscene with the Black Knight that Grail is... there's a lot about him that we didn't know. Not a good sign that all of the Beok that he put his trust in all died. Well, not all of them. This is actually part of why, so the art book does list on every character's profiles where they were born. The main reason why I didn't decide to translate those is because a lot of those are kind of spoilers. The art book does say, like, nationality Crimean and then in brackets born in Gallia for both Ike and Mist. We might already have an idea of who that is. You have no idea how apt that word is. Yeah, the Black Knight knew it was him. It's a good thing you were there, though, because the Black Knight would have certainly killed Ike if you weren't. We wouldn't really have much of a story if we all decided to just stay here in Gallia and live peacefully. So no, we have to continue on. At least Ike acknowledges that. Well, that's already what we were doing anyway. We already had a pretty good indicator of that when we tried visiting one of those villages. The people of both countries are still on very shaky terms with each other. Maybe. Well, at least this wasn't all pointless. We had another destination to head to. We do actually have a lot more members, though. Soren seems a lot more agreeable right now. So, our job as guards of the princess continues. And it's going to continue long into the future. And with that, we end that chapter. So, we succeeded in our first mission, only to find out that we actually need to go to a different country entirely. Next time we begin preparations to head out for Benyon. This marks the start of, I'd say, the second real arc of the game. We'll also be gaining a lot more new recruits in the coming chapters, so we're going to be busy.